like to call the meeting of the Southampton Trustees to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. Well, this is our first meeting in the town hall since a long time, so you have to bear with us. We're treading on new ground here. All right, so Secretary, please call the roll.
Certainly. President Schultz?
Present.
Secretary Treasurer Welker?
Here.
Trustee Warner?
Present.
Trustee Pell?
Present.
Trustee Horowitz?
Here.
Sir, we have a quorum present this afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Next trustee meeting is August 12th, 2020 at 3 p.m. The regular meeting is August 17th at 2020 at 1 p.m. The first one is the work session, the August 12th one. Discussions. We're going to have a discussion regarding the contribution to the Sag Harbor Water Quality Initiative brought up by Ann Welker.
I would like to clarify the monies that have been spent on behalf of the Sag Harbor Water Quality Committee. In 2018, $52,000 was spent approximately. $12,000 on assessing harmful algal blooms, $12,000 on assessing temperature, dissolved oxygen, pH, salinity. Microbial source tracking, there was a combination for $10,000 for 2018 and 2019, and a nitrogen load assessment that was historical for $15,000. In 2019, $25,000 was paid. The harmful algal bloom component was $12,000, and the temperature, dissolved oxygen, salinity, and chlorophyll A amounts were approximately also $12,000. This year, the costs have not yet been broken out, but the amount that is being requested is $22,000. Of that amount, $20,241 is now either paid or pledged by a combination of organizations. The East Hampton Town Trustees, the Southampton Sag Harbor Village, Southampton Town, Sag Harbor Partnership, Sag Harbor Yacht Club, Breakwater Yacht Club, Sag Harbor Yacht Club, and a combination of individuals and foundations. These 7 or 8 different organizations have contributed various amounts over the past 3 years. I feel that it is critical for the trustees to finish this, as there will be microbial source tracking to determine where the DNA is, what kind of DNA there is, whether it's mammal or small animals or fecal bacteria. And I consider it critical that the $2,000 that the Southampton Town Trustees have pledged is to be included in this amount. Does anyone have any questions?
I think, this is the third and final.
This is the last year of testing. There's to be no more testing.
Right, so we've invested in this for the last 2 years, okay? And I agree. We probably should finish it up, get the results, and make a determination and see what actions have to be taken to get some relief on the waterway. So
There's a resolution later in the meeting. At
Right.
that time, I would like to have this approved.
Okay.
If any,
I do have a couple comments. Being that we run the pump-out boat, and it's the largest area for us to take the most amount of effluent out of the environment, if it is fecal coliform and it's human contributions, and it's coming from the sources, boats and stuff like that, and boaters, using this program and having that information, we could come up with a educational proponent to it, advising the people that, we have a pump-out boat program, it's free, and we're willing to take all the effluent out of your vessels. So I think just on that end, and it also, it's a certified shellfish growing area, and I'd hate to see it closed because of, poor management. So I think this last payment, and this program is a management tool that us and the New York State DEC can use to manage the shellfish growing areas.
As I stated previously, it's critical that the trustees contribute this year because there's already been a rust tide sampling inside Sag Harbor Cove at the Ship of Shore Marina site, which is within Southampton town.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yep.
You want to take the
Yeah,
resolution
put
out of
this
order?
thing to bed and,
Yeah,
find out where this source, where this fecal coliform's coming from.
and would you like to
You want to vote
Oh,
on
we-
it out of
we-
order?
We have a resolution for it later.
Okay.
take it out of order? Do you want to do it in order?
We can do it in
We'll
order.
follow it in order.
Okay.
That's no problem.
Thank you.
Let's get
It's
to the-
just critical that it be approved at this time.
Okay. Okay, so we have a public hearing regarding the application of the Dr. Bosi LLC, 315 Royal Oak, Flanders, New York. It's been adjourned several times. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anybody speaking
There
for?
was a gentleman, the owner was here, I think.
Okay,
Should I
He's
go
out in the
and call
hall,
him?
yeah.
okay.
Want me to go?
We have the owner of the property. He's
Thanks,
taking a
Al.
call, so we'll wait for him for a second.
We have other people downstairs, so can have up to 10 in the audience. So I asked Brandy how many people.
Yeah, find out how many people are here on that particular issue.
We have 2 people waiting to speak at public portion. Do you want them to come up now? We have enough room.
They probably should.
Okay,
Yeah, bring them up now.
is there any more people down there, just those two?
There's just 2 people.
Oh, you
waiting
might
to
as well let them
Send them up.
come up and sit in the meeting, and then
And-
Brandy can go back to what she was doing.
Okay, and Matt Ivan is also here, so I'll tell them all to come up.
Okay, that sounds good.
And
Okay.
come up, please. Okay,
The other 2 people want to speak at public portion on
Yes.
another issue.
correct. Yes.
Okay. I think you better do it separately there. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Aram Tertunian, First Coastal Corporation, on behalf of the applicant. I have the principal of Bosky LLC, Mr. Richard Ketchian, is with me, and if you have any questions you want to direct to him, he's here to answer those. As you pointed out, this is an application that's been on numerous public hearings, and just a brief recap, the situation is that the applicant undertook self-help in the placement of boulders on the property. They were issued a notice of violation. They responded to that notice of violation by filing an application with this board. They also filed simultaneously with the New York State DEC. We have received the DEC permit, and now we await the decision of this board. We have been asked by Trustee Welker to investigate the feasibility of doing living shoreline with an offshore breakwater. We did look into that alternative. The issue is that we have to create it not just on the subject property, but across in front of what is the town-owned road, in front of the town-owned road. And that essentially doubles the cost of the project doing that. Nevertheless, we believe that what you have in front of you, which is we're going to realign these boulders to get the rocks in line with the high water. Then it's going to be covered with sand and planted with beach grass. And I believe that simultaneously, we're proposing to rebuild the existing timber jetty, which serves to anchor that beach, and it's in disrepair now and allowing sand to leak into the channel. So we think we can accomplish 2 goals. Number 1 is stop sand from going in the channel. Number 2 is help stabilize this beach. And then the owner has agreed to maintain sand cover on top of the rocks as part of the application. So that's what you have before you.
Okay. The question I had was, I noticed, looking back at the, historical data, that since the 40s, the front of this person's property, they've lost over 200 feet
Yeah.
of erosion in that area there.
It's pretty amazing.
Sure.
I didn't go
You're-
back to the 40s. I only went to about the early 70s. And
Well, it was a subdivision map in 1940.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you're familiar with erosion, right?
Not much.
Just a little, yeah. Okay. It's not clear here on this particular map. I'm just trying to get my bearings here, and it's good that you're here, that this tie line here,
Right.
is this the actual description of the property in the deed? Because the tie line is not the actual, delineation of the property. Do you have a
See,
survey?
You say the meets and boundary is...
Well, you see
is
this
actually-
tie line is-
much further seaward than the actual tie line.
Well, I'm just trying to find out, on the original subdivision map, the Water's Edge Civic Association owned this whole 200-foot wide, or a large strip, right? So how much of that is left? Is there any left?
No, there's none. What's happened is that the erosion has moved all the way through that described property into the subject property of this application. So
Right.
whatever upland
Okay.
that was part of the association is now lost.
So this north 680225 minutes east is the actual line here? And, because there's a tie line, and then there's another line. Which line is his, just so you can help me out here,
Okay.
on the original map?
If I could take a look at what you have,
Yeah.
compared to the survey that I have,
Okay.
what's our protocol for approaching?
Yeah. Take a look at it.
Lisa, can you hand this over, please? Hand it to the guy in behind you. Thank you.
Just so I can answer any questions about
Right.
where we are.
Whether it's on,
All right, yes,
Yeah.
that original tie line is the...
You have to speak into the mic, Aaron.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. That tie line is the remainder of the parcel of the Water's Edge Civic Association parcel, which has now been subsumed by the bay. And you can see the high water line is landward of all of those tie lines at this point, which is extinguishes title.
Okay. You writing that down? Extinguished title because of erosion?
yep.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, that was
All right, that's going to definitely come back to home.
yeah.
Okay. That's what I needed to know. Okay. So the proposal is now to relocate the rocks and place sand on top of them and plant beach grass.
When I went
And
down,
I would assume that it would be good to redo that bulkhead to trap any sand that accumulates there.
Yeah, that's where the sand's being lost. Without that jetty breakwater being present and functional, that sand is just going right through north, right from east to west and right into the channel.
that's right.
So,
And, Mr. President, just for the record, we have a letter from the Water's Edge Civic Association. I thought it was emailed, perhaps it wasn't, so I will hand it up for the record. This is in support of the
It
application.
was Mr. Ferrantino's letter?
Yeah,
Okay. That's the
no,
long...
this is signed by Vicky Ferrugia.
Oh, Water's
president,
Edge, okay.
Water's
Okay.
Edge, and Roy Yeager.
Oh, okay. That's the
what
vice
is the
president?
timeframe as far as the sand replenishment, if necessary, on it? Is it going to be done in the winter, spring? Because one concern that I had, and some of the baymen have brought up, that area is a horseshoe crab spawning area, so we want to maintain as good a beach as we can there, so...
So that would prescribe more of a spring
Yes,
timeframe.
yes.
I think we can work with that.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah.
What about the rocks that presently are obstructing the public's access? Because there are rocks not only that run parallel to the water, but also some that run perpendicular.
Right, so the ones that run perpendicular are in a return fashion and actually return onto the applicant's property. There's nothing that, in my observation, that actually goes seaward of the applicant's property. And also, if you look at the survey, you can see that right now it's kind of a disjointed alignment that will be then aligned fully with the shoreline, and then the only part that is not parallel to that is the return section here, which is entirely on the applicant's property.
Okay. So the next question is, if any sand does build up outside your client's property, that becomes then property of the Waters Edge Civic Association?
You got me on that one. I don't know if it reverts to them or if it goes to the state of New York. I don't know.
It is the state of New York right now. But similar to like filling in at Little Pikes, there was an inlet there. We filled it in mechanically, and those people got their property back. So it was always my impression that when that happened naturally, it would revert back to the original owner. And that would be a good thing, because that means it's a building beach.
Maybe that's a Sean question.
I think we're going to have to talk about that a little bit, about how we're going to operate on it. There are some other people that would like to speak on this, but they couldn't make it today.
I
One
have,
for and
excuse me,
against.
Mr. President, I have Mr. Ferrantino would like to call my cell phone and be heard on.
Oh, he did? I thought he was going to come in next time.
Him and his wife are unable to get to town hall. He would like to be heard. He wants to call my cell phone and be heard. by the
I
board.
talked to him, and he said he would be comfortable with coming to the next meeting, too.
Okay.
Did he just say it just now?
He just texted.
Oh,
me.
okay, okay.
Yes. All right, so should I get him on the line for the board?
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
he's calling right now. Mr. Ferrantino? Mr. Ferrantino?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you're on speakerphone with the Board of Trustees.
You want to put it up to your speaker there? Or?
All right, so should I get him on the line for the board?
Yes, okay.
Who's calling right now? Mr. Ferrantino?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Mr. Ferrantino?
Yes, can you hear me?
A lot of background noise.
Yes.
Thanks. Thank you.
Can you turn the meeting down? We have feedback.
Thank.
Oh, feedback.
Yes, I'm on the speaker. Can you hear me? I can hear you guys. Yes, can you hear me? Yes, I can.
It's
Oh,
delayed.
yeah. It's delayed.
I
don't think that's gonna work.
Yes, I'll turn
Turn
it
his
off.
TV off.
No, it's not the TV, it's
Okay,
getting
it's off.
It's a delay.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
you
can
shouldn't
hear
hear it
you
now. I can hear you now.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so this is Jim Ferrantino. So I live literally across the street from the where this property is. I'm also the president.
Please, for the record.
I'm sorry. So my name is James Ferrantino. I'm the president of the Long Neck Royal Canal Association, and I live at 316 Royal Avenue, which is directly across the street from the property that you guys are talking about.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. So I've been here for 20 years, roughly, give or take a year. I think it's 20 years I'm living out here. And yeah, so I've heard Aaron's discussion. The beach that was once there is no longer there. At the high water mark, there is absolutely no beach at all. The entrance that people use today is off the street. There's no obstruction to walk onto the property through the street. There's no obstruction. People come down today and will walk and use that piece of, which is whatever the street crosses, whatever that is. It's 30 feet, whatever it is, 35 feet of it. So that allows people access into the water. As far as a personal person that lives across the street, I have no objection to it from that perspective. It does help in terms of some of the water, as of tomorrow come down here. It will protect the land from erosion from that perspective. From our side, from a canal association side of the business, I speak for the 49 homes that are on my canal. We've talked about it. We don't have any problem with it. It is not a navigational issue to us at all. From a canal, obviously, it's on its own, sits where it is. So I'm in favor of it from both the canal president side and also from the personal side, being here for many years. So I wanted to make sure I got that on the record for the team down there. Okay. I don't know of anybody on my canal that is we've talked about it for over a year now. That is against this the ability to protect the land from his perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll take questions if you guys have any questions from your side, and being somebody that's been down here so long, if you want any questions from the team's thing.
Mm-hmm. No, I've been there, I know there's been a lot of problems down there. I've met with Mr. Ferrantino quite a few times, so I'm very familiar with the
Yeah,
area.
yeah. I appreciate the support from the board. I think you guys have been great supporting the Canal Association, so I do appreciate it from everybody. You guys do a great job. So, but that's really all I had to say. So I appreciate Lisa jumping in and helping me out. So I'm sorry I couldn't get down there. I forgot my license on the way down. I couldn't get in the building. So that's why I'm here. Otherwise, I was going to come in person. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mr. Ferrantino. Okay, we're disconnecting. Thank you.
Mr. Ketchian had said anything? Did you want to speak?
Well, my family's been dealing with this erosion issue since 1962. That's when my father purchased the house. We applied for bulkheading back in the 80s and in the 90s. Actually, it was with your father and Moon and stuff, Radiant and things. And back in 97 is when we gave up on trying to do anything. And then after Sandy, I'll be perfectly honest, I panicked. And that's why I did what I did. And I want to make it right. And I want to keep it covered because I don't want to look at the rocks either. So what I had done years back is I made sand dune there. But it kind of like, I made a very high sand dune, and what it did is it defeated the purpose because when you sat in the house, you couldn't see the water. That was another, so anyway, so.
Hay bales, too.
Huh?
Hay bales, too, right?
Yeah, remember the hay bales? You were there for the hay bales when I tried to build a beach staking hay bales. I've tried everything. I've had my kids shoveling down there. Well, actually, my kids are the age when my father was doing this now, so they're in their 30s. So, I'm hoping that it's resolved. I have no problem. I mean, I have an issue now because I did have it covered, and because I haven't done anything, now the rocks are exposed. So now people are walking on the rocks, which is a liability issue on my part, too. So I want to, get this thing done, get it going. The bulkhead broke down so much this past year, even though we didn't have a bad year, that the canal is filled. So, it's like my docks are partially on land on low tide at this point, and all the way down, it's like we just have one little channel. We're on the Suffolk dredging list, which is good, but I want to get the bulkhead rebuilt back to original so it catches the sand. It actually was working. Now, that's why what Aaron said about the high water mark, the high water mark shifted at least 10 feet this past winter because there's nothing holding it now. So it's just going straight around, like you had mentioned,
Right into the canal.
right into the canal.
Yeah, we patched up that bulkhead one time.
Yeah, we did
The
that. Remember with the brush
maintenance
jetty
crew,
we
right.
tried to do? I mean, that's, what we're talking about is like 12, 15 years ago now. So,
Jeez.
yeah, that's why, when I look at the bulkhead that's there, I put all screening behind it. And I'm like, I did this all by hand. And it's not even, the other issue is, most of the bulkhead is not even my property. Or, the broken down part. I mean, the whole thing is broken down now.
The extension.
And I'm willing to rebuild the bulkhead for the town or civic association, whatever you want to call it. So, I'm willing to work with you folks and,
Okay.
all right? But I just need to do something before this winter. That's
Yep.
what I'm afraid of, so. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, and also, I don't have an issue if when I cover the rocks, if it makes a beach, I'm not gonna tell the people not to come down to, it's, mine ends at the high water mark. As long as the high water mark, wherever it is, I'm not gonna stop people. It's gonna become water's edge again,
Okay.
Well,
we got to work that out with our attorney,
Yeah.
so I'm suggesting that we adjourn this till the next meeting, and then with anticipation of closing the public hearing, and then making a decision
Yeah.
of some sort.
I see him taking notes.
Well, if I could, I'm not sure what the legal issue is.
Well, there's some additional people that speak, I don't know whether they're for or against and everything, I'd like to hear, they couldn't make it, I'd like to
Well-
let them be heard, and then, but the anticipation is to close the hearing next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I just would like to point out that this is the 7th public hearing on this
No, I
application.
know, but we've had a little bit
And,
of,
I would
Things going
ask you to
on.
consider close the hearing for written comments only, because people have had, this has been going on since November. I think people have ample opportunity, even in the situation we're in.
We can close it and vote on it next meeting.
we can keep, I would like to keep it open until the next meeting and then vote on it.
That day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, I'm going to advise you against closing at this point in time. We have several issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you
okay.
tell me what those issues are?
The first is whoever owns this other land, whether it's a civic town, we need a letter of permission.
But we're not doing anything on their land. We're not doing anything on their land.
The owner just said you were rebuilding bulkhead on their land.
And that land is actually land of the state of New York at this point. It's not, he misspoke.
Okay. Well, there's several things that I want to clarify with our attorney, being that we are in litigation with, and will be probably going to trial soon, as far as erosion issues and who owns land back and forth and all that, all those things. So I anticipate the questions will be answered, and we'll close the hearing at the next meeting.
And what is the date of that meeting?
The next meeting date will be...
It's, in the beginning.
17th.
At 1 o'clock.
August 17th.
Aaron, do you have a copy of the New York State DEC permitting the bulkhead on the western portion? that
Yes,
we
that's
can
in your
get?
file.
Well, I'd like our attorney to take a look at that also.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
If you
You know,
give me your
it's a new
email
attorney-
address, I'll
yeah.
send it to you.
okay,
I think that's important.
all right. So.
I think if
put
we
this
made a
issue to bed.
decision, I think if we lock it up, you guys do all your due diligence by the 17th.
Well, the board does what the board does, and I respect the process, but I think I can be most helpful to the board if you let me know what it is you have a question about, so I can supply the information if it is within my power.
We will, but we have to talk to our attorney in executive session first.
Okay, so I'll expect some form of communication,
Yes.
and right now I'm
Yeah.
just writing.
In ample time for you to respond.
Yes.
Okay.
You might not have to respond. It's just, we just
yeah.
have to discuss this.
I understand. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Okay. So I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting until the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Town Trustees.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Okay. Next public hearing is on the modification application of 188 Redwood LLC, permit number GP 00116 on 188 Redwood Road, Village of Sag Harbor. Anybody here to speak in favor of it? Please step up to the mic, please.
President Schultz, if I may,
Oh.
I have at this point in time viewed affidavit posting, have sufficient affidavit mailing, photographs. We have return receipts. I'd like to state that the Board of Trustees does have jurisdiction to proceed over this matter.
Very good, thanks.
Did you make a motion to open the hearing?
I make a motion, we open the
Second.
hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi,
So, just
good
identify
afternoon, everyone.
yourself.
I'm Josh Schwartz, I'm the owner. Jack Costello, who, is, they filed the permit, I don't think he was aware that he could have gotten on through the phone. He got caught out of town, so they called me this morning, asked me to make sure that I was here so I could answer any questions you have.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any questions to start, or I could explain, what the process has been.
Yeah, why don't you explain it?
So, I think it was 9 or 10 years ago, we had a permit approval to rebuild what was then a mortared wall into a bulkhead, and then did that 9 years ago. A year and a half ago, I guess 2 winters ago, there was, you could see it in the pictures actually, that were filed in the application. There was something happened with the trees next door that were on the berm. I don't know if they died, you could see there, but there was a pretty significant erosion eastward of the bulkhead return. That's when I called Costello for him to come take a look, see what he thought, because the property had eroded behind the bulkhead, into my property, so on the south side of the property. So he came, that's what he thought, he measured.
Hold on one second. You have to shut the door. Sean, could you shut the door, please? Okay.
Are we supposed to shut the door? Is it okay to shut the door?
I don't know, it was people out in the hallway
I
talking.
just thought maybe they had it open for
Interfering with the
some
sound.
medical reason.
No, I don't think so.
No? You sure?
So,
Don't think so.
he came, measured, took, an estimate of how he thought we should try to extend the bulkhead return back. Went through the process, got, I think, a letter from the Army Corps of Engineers that it's not their jurisdiction. We got approval from the DEC, had approval from the trustees, and I think that happened probably around January, February, at which point I called him again because we had, the erosion was, I would say, alarming. And we tried to I was told there's a soft stop with core logs, which just got wiped out. And I have a picture. I don't think it was in there, but I took a picture before I came over here. The erosion between last year and this year, I would guess, is probably 6 or 7 feet. And so I called him back saying, I'm nervous that if we go ahead and do this, we'll just have to come back in a year or so and try to do it again. Could you come and take a look? So he came and took a look and thought we should extend it. That's the nature of why we didn't push forward through the village at that point. And so we have the modification from the DEC here today to discuss it.
Could you
Okay.
describe the shoreline along, on either side of your property, the fortifications or blacktop bulkheading on?
James, is there a plan?
On the, there's no
Should be, yeah.
bulkhead on the south side.
And should have it,
Oh,
On the north side.
if you'd like, yeah.
Can you do that?
oh, okay.
We're trying
Just
to
wait
put
one
up the-
second.
Oh, okay.
Want to take a look
I
at
just
the,
want to do.
well,
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at the
there are
plans.
pictures on there. Actually, there's an overhead picture. That's pretty good.
Okay.
Thanks, James.
Yeah, no problem.
If you can actually have it here. I don't know.
That one goes on.
Okay.
Just give me a minute here.
Yeah, no problem.
So I have the plans too, just let me know what you want to look at. But I'll start with the aerial.
I think Ian was talking about where and voted on the other, on the north side of the property. The side you were already on. The north,
This side?
yeah. Was that what you're talking about, Ian?
There's an older picture, which I think would be relevant to see. If that should be in that application.
Okay, I can pull that up. It was just a permit, the photos?
Yeah, but it's on the current permit application. Yeah, there.
This one?
Yep.
So
So
the
you see-
trees,
So my property, like, you can see where my property is.
This
And I'm
is his-
talking-
Yeah, you can move the cursor over there.
We're talking about, yeah, right there.
Right there.
Is
Right.
where we're talking about. So all that stuff's not there. And I would, it's been a rapid over the last 18 months. So on the north side, you've got a bulkhead, which has, been there, from what I understand, 40 years or more. And there's no bulkhead on the south side.
but the majority of the properties to the north are all bulkheaded, correct?
As
And then-
if I think about, I think that there's 2 properties that are not bulkheaded south of me, and then they are bulkheaded.
But everything else is, from what I would have.
As I
observed.
recall, but I can't guarantee, but I mean, I think
Pretty
so.
much.
Looks pretty bulkheaded
Yeah.
all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I would add is that if we go to the 24 feet, it does seem like what is there right now seems to be fortified. There's a lot of deeper rooted, salt tolerant plants that seem to have stuck.
I think the concern of the board was that the extension to the bulkheading might exacerbate the erosion to the neighboring properties which are not bulkheaded.
So I could tell you, I mean, I didn't think it, I guess the guy who owns that property, I spoke to him the other day, and he said he would do anything necessary to, he asked if I wanted him to write a letter. I guess I should have had it.
Or just say
What do you need?
what he said.
Yeah.
Oh.
Better use the mic.
Sorry, Charles.
Thank you.
I'll just lean in.
Killing it.
Sorry, Charles.
His Eagle, he was definitely, anything he could do to help me get this through, he was okay with.
Is he going to write a letter?
I could ask him. I didn't.
Yeah, it would help.
That would be.
I think that would be a good
And it
idea.
would probably help you too if he, joined forces with you to come up with some sort of plan to, some sort of baffle or something like that.
Well, that's what I had urged him to, because otherwise he's going to end up with water at his house.
Yeah.
And,
Eventually, yes.
And I'm going to end up with water or a bulkhead that I'm trying to build back to the street.
Right.
Which is
Any
not
pl-
practical.
No, of
Right.
course.
Any
Right.
plantings that could be done, especially if you're friendly with him or neighborly with him,
absolutely.
and can work with him to do
Yeah.
that, to mitigate the potential erosion
that's exactly
on
what
his
I said.
property would be.
Yeah.
and
You
maybe
guys-
if that is put in writing.
You guys are way better off with a holistic plan.
Yes.
You know, some holistic plan between the two of you is going to be way better than
Yeah.
you just trying to battle it.
No, that I agree with, and the reason, so actually coming out of this, I'll definitely, go right to him today and discuss that. The one thing I would just say is, the reason, it's like even with tonight, what's going to happen, I suspect that this thing's really at risk right now, so there's nothing we could do about tomorrow, but who knows what's going to happen, in the next few months, but if you come and look at it, I think that the existing bulkhead's probably at risk of the way the property exists, the water comes around, it's going to tear the whole front of it off, I think. And, if you look at the pictures that we just had up, this house was built and sold as it wasn't a spec house, but the people, longtime residents built it. There was definitely seagrass and trees that were fortified there. I don't know if it was in the process of being sold, what happened, but that's what ended up with this shift. If you keep going back to the overhead one, right there, you could see, the seagrass and the trees were well east of the return.
Right.
If you and your neighbor can work together, that would be
Yeah, we will.
in everyone's best
Yeah,
interest.
I'm very confident that can happen.
Yeah, if you wanted to come into the next meeting, maybe we could sit down and, discuss it.
All right,
You know.
okay.
That would be best.
I think that's a good idea.
There, so when is that? 2 weeks from now?
August 17th at 1 o'clock.
All right. So that's where we should
Yes.
settle this?
Yeah,
All right.
that'd be very
What would
helpful.
what would you, so I could be prepared? What
Do you want to
what
do
would
it
be
at that
the-
or a work session?
We have to do it because it's a public hearing.
Yeah, we got to do it the next public hearing.
Okay.
Spare the meeting.
And I would ask Mr. Costello to come in.
Well, he's
also,
got an
so
active,
he could-
he's got
any
an active
technical
plan right
questions,
now,
yeah, we could
so
ask
you
him.
can do it as a work session too,
Um,
right? This is at the public hearing. and-
That's a Sean question on the public hearing side, Yeah.
All right.
So your question was, what
So this is
should
just-
you bring?
Yeah, just come with our brains or,
Well, I would ask Mr. Costello, if he's the guy that you've kind of hired to alleviate this issue. I think that the two of you should have a conversation to say, look, he wants to participate in this now because he recognizes the fact that, what's happening to him, and perhaps he's got some further suggestions.
Well, I guess my only response, which I feel comfortable saying right now, is that, Jack feels confident that he could build this thing without without making it worse.
Right.
As far as, us doing more to fortify whatever is there, planting forward, or I guess it would be southeast of the proposed bulkhead return extension. To me, that seems like a separate idea that I'm absolutely, willing to do, which would effectively be planting on my neighbor's property that I'd split the cost with the guy but because it's in my interest. But as far as addressing your concern, Mr. Horowitz, I mean, I think Jack feels, that's why I think he sent me here. He feels, comfortably he can build this thing and not destroy what's there.
Right, so I think, that being said, I think if you could get all parties around the table on that day, I think that's key. I think that's a good step, Then it's all on the record that everybody's being mindful of everybody else's property, and you're kind of moving in the direction of the best practices to remedy this once and for all.
Okay.
So,
There's already a sketch in the application for what the return will look like.
Yeah.
Jack has already done that.
Yeah.
So I think just the conversation
Okay,
between you and your neighbor, so that that's on the record.
okay,
Yeah, because your neighbor might want, since he's down there already with his equipment, it might be
right.
expensive for your neighbor to do some sort of remediation there.
One thought, just so I can ward off an issue. If he can't show up here that day and I can bring a letter from him, is that sufficient?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
Fine.
Thank you.
Did you
Or he
speak
can
to
call
any
in.
of your other neighbors?
No, but there's a sign. I mean, I spoke to them, very much in the last 2 weeks. There's a sign in the front. No one said anything to me.
Okay.
Yeah. He's
The
that
one,
property,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you
Anybody?
very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak for or against this application? Okay, then I make a motion that we adjourn this public hearing till the next regularly scheduled meeting of the trustees.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is it the same time on the 7th?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so now that we've concluded the public hearings, we'll go into public portion. There's a few people in the audience I think want to be heard on some issues, so come on up.
My name is Tiffany Gavin. Good afternoon.
Hi.
I am here
I
to
need your address, too.
53 Cliff Drive,
Okay.
Sag Harbor, with regard to the removal of a bulkhead at 65 Cliff Drive, resulting in a landslide that has completely stopped low tide water flow, completely altered navigation, and there was a violation that was placed on Friday. It has since been taken down, but I did get a picture of it. My neighbor and I are here today just to really understand what the violation means to remediating all of the negative impacts that have happened with regard to the removal. So this picture shows the 3 feet high of land that fell into the canal. So 3 feet high by 70 feet long of land has fallen into the mouth of a tidal, 20-foot narrow, navigable canal. What has happened is the property is continuing to erode. Every time a wave hits, the retention is pulling the upland down into the canal. We have twofold problem, which Aram and Gina Rigdon pointed out that we weren't even aware of, that the land is coming from below and at the top. I think I mentioned this at the last meeting. Because of that, the shoal across the way has gotten much bigger. It is now crossing, and now these two shorelines meet. The evidence is very clear. The land was not graded, it was not contained, the plan was impossible to be executed. This land has been held back since the 50s. The bulkhead that was removed was holding back 70 feet by 3 feet high of land from the canal side for 54 years. Within 4 months of the removal, without any trustee permits, no DEC permits, no Army Corps, no engineering, we don't even see a wetland permit. The only permit that is visible on the front of that property is a building permit for an underground pool. There was no meetings that were brought to our attention. It's an elevated property that is sloping down towards this canal. Any neighbor in the neighborhood would have said that it's an impossibility to remove that bulkhead without destroying that canal.
Sean, do you want to address the first part of her question?
Yeah, why the issue?
Why the notice?
Of violation?
You want to address that?
Does he have to go into the microphone?
Oh, do you have to go here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
The trustees as a board would prompt the Bay Constable to issue a notice of violation for modification or building of any new structure. In this instance, I believe they've prompted the Bay Constable to issue a notice of violation to change that structure. Being that that structure is no longer there, it's to prompt a conversation about why they were not consulted with regard to this project. So that's, from my understanding, the Board of Trustees' position on it and the reason behind the issuance of a notice of violation.
Thank you for that. So my question is, being that it was done illegally, for lack of a better word, and
Without our knowledge.
without our knowledge, that's actually nicer. So, and having not had the opportunity to get in front of this problem, Mr. Shea he notified me in an email that he was the one who told the homeowner to remove the bulkhead. The homeowner, when I spoke with her, she confirmed that Mr. Shea told her to remove it. I was told by Mr. Burke that they weighed this decision very heavily. Do you know who they weighed it with? Because no other agency was brought in to the mix.
Yeah, we're a separate entity.
Right. So we're not really sure how and why this happened. We're not really sure why we're fighting so hard to remediate this situation. This has all happened within a 6-month period of time. No storm surge has hit that corner yet. The FEMA flood line is 30 feet noted up that property. We're about halfway up to their FEMA flood line at this point. The situation is not going to remedy itself. The property needs to be contained with a bulkhead. That whole mouth of the canal needs to be opened up. And the whole sea floor is raised down the entire canal. It needs to be dredged. And this was not something that we asked for. This was thrusted upon us. And we are so appreciative that you all acknowledge that there was some violations that happened there, and we... Go ahead.
If I may comment again.
Okay.
So just to be clear, the trustees do not require demolition permits. Permit is required for a new structure to be built or modification of existing, but not necessarily a demolition permit. So, we're concluding that it's a violation to modify, but not necessarily to demolish, just to be clear.
To be clear on that point, from Mr. James Burke, in your town codes or their town codes, a structure cannot be removed without engineering to prove that no negative impact would come to the surrounding areas. So the negative impact is alter navigation, can't do that. Cannot alter tidal flow, can't do that. Riparian rights have been affected of all the 6 homeowners on this property, also can't do that. There was no engineering by the admission of Mr. Burke saying, he showed me the law, he sent it in an email, it has to be proved that no negative impact would come. This gentleman's property, it's abutting into his property, it's going into Paynes Creek, the floor has risen. I know it seems silly, but the floor is so high, the paddle fins of my paddleboard are far out into Paynes Creek at this point. So it's not only the mouth of the canal that's affected, you are now into Paynes Creek. So yes, I understand what you're saying. but there's many negative impacts that have occurred from here, and you're not allowed to do that by law.
Right, well, it's a process. I mean, we're going through a process right now.
Yeah.
Right, and
Okay.
the issue of the violation brings everybody to the table now to start discussing it. And that's what we wanted to achieve.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to understand. So the violation is going to bring people, so you
Well,
guys...
people are going to have to answer, bring in documents and prove certain things, so we're going to, it starts the process.
Right, it's the beginning of a process.
Yeah.
So
Now,
should...
what would help, though,
Yes.
is that I'm seeing, that you have pictures that you're showing there that we don't have, so any pictures that you have will be helpful to us.
I've been documenting, I reached out originally on March 16th, in 2020, and I've been trailing this all along.
I've seen some, but I didn't see that other one.
Yeah, no, this one was
black and
just from
white one.
Friday,
Oh, okay.
and the erosion, so this is about to now fall into the water.
Okay.
It's, so my hope is to understand that this is going to be remediated, and there is going to be a bulkhead put back on this property to contain this land. As the gentleman before just said, those choir logs, from my understanding and limited research of understanding and reviewing what these choir logs do, they were fairly new. They were used in estuaries, and when they're hit with the wave retention, those are something that has to be you have to look
They have
at
to
it.
be tied down very
You
well.
have to be tied down, but the problem is, our problem is also coming from below, and the choir logs doesn't take care of the lower portion of it, and when it's hit, they have to be they have to be tweaked every now and then.
Right.
So without somebody,
We're familiar with them.
Oh,
We've
okay.
used them on a lot of different projects.
okay,
But they're, they're not a catch-all for everything.
I was not
There's
familiar with that
certain
term.
specific areas of, low storm surge, they work good at, not
Not
good as
here.
an erosion control device.
No wave energy.
No.
Right, no wave energy.
And realistically, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation is also looking into the same issue here. So, that's going to be a totally separate agency that's going to have their own concerns that perhaps are going to have to be addressed. So that's why it's the beginning of a process, okay?
Army Corps, I also looped them in. I have Bart DiMartino's involved at this point because navigation has been altered, and that's a very big no-no in the Army Corps. So, so we're bringing everyone to the table, and just because I'm like losing sleep over this on a personal side, is this something that you see as it's going to be cleaned up?
We're very much concerned about
Thank you.
this structure being removed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. I appreciate your time, and I'll send everything to you, and,
Okay, those, excluding those new pictures, because I
Yes,
haven't
sir.
seen those yet.
yeah, and they're dated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else here to speak on this particular issue?
You have anyone downstairs, Lisa?
Brandy, we had everybody.
Let's just find out if there's anybody waiting downstairs.
Yeah.
Yep,
Thank you for doing that.
of course.
Okay, is there anybody here to speak about any other subject in public portion? Come on up, Pat.
Mr. President, Aram Tertunian, First Coastal Corporation, West Hampton Beach, New York. I forgot to say when I spoke earlier how great it is to be in person again. Thank you for arranging this. It's great. I understand that the board is potentially having a discussion about the Peconic Bay Beach in the vicinity of North Sea Road. Is that going to occur this afternoon? I had gotten emails to that effect.
If you want to bring it up. I mean, are you the consultant for that?
Yeah, we're the consultant for Cowneck Inc. and
You can bring up
for
anything
Vincent
in
Meyer.
Public portion, so.
Well, we had, the situation is that we had had a meeting with Marty Shea, and he had advised us what permits were required. On behalf of the applicants, we filed those permits with his office. And then I got an email string last week that said that the trustees felt that perhaps they might have jurisdiction over this, as opposed to his office. So I'm here to find out who's got jurisdiction.
Well, we were going to discuss our options in executive session, but we did meet with the caretaker down there today to,
Okay.
because we weren't privy to the plans until today, about what the size and scope of the was.
Okay.
I know it's been filed with the DOS, I guess the DEC, and
Yep.
there.
We filed,
Did you
we
want-
followed what we were instructed to do, but obviously, we'd be happy to make things available to the board, but we were given the instructions that we had filed with the proper jurisdictions.
Okay.
Is there a method of communication after your executive session, so I can understand what the board's opinion is?
Yeah, I think we can let you know in a day or two.
All right, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Did you want to discuss the project now, or?
Well, I can, in the broadest terms, if you read Newsday about 2 months ago, they had a Porgy Fest down there with about 200 people. And it was quite a wild scene. I won't describe all.
You were there.
You were there?
Yep.
Okay, so.
We're on site.
Okay, so you can describe firsthand. I only got
I think your
secondhand
numbers were
reports.
wrong.
I think, yeah, it was a
Your
little,
numbers were way
About a
off.
third. Right.
Okay, well,
You gotta go take your shoes off and count again.
I wasn't there.
No taking your shoes off.
That's good advice. Anyway.
it was a problem.
So, want to make sure that, people have the right to, to pass and repass on the beach, but there's an issue about vehicles driving on private land, which the property owners want to see addressed.
Right. Their concerns were voiced to us today,
Okay.
and we discussed the proposal and how it's going to fit, and we'll talk to council today and see as far as who has jurisdiction, and then we'll let Mr. Shea know, and you.
And me.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. All right, great. And, terrific, and we'll have the opportunity to respond to whatever it is that you.
Yes, we'll
Sure.
keep you in a loop.
Yep,
That is great. I thank you again for having a in-person meeting.
great, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Sure, come on up.
Gotta state your name again,
Tiffany
and your
Gavin.
address,
53 Cliff Drive.
and your name.
Tiffany Gavin.
We got it.
Okay.
You guys are, the only next time you want to see me is in your nightmares. Like just let her go away. What's the timeline to get all of this? I know but we have been.
I don't know,
dealing
with the courts, I think the attorney's going to have to answer that one.
Like, putting all of this together. What's the timeline? It's
Well-
been going on since March. I know you guys are only looped in not too long ago.
Yeah, I mean, let's be
Yeah, yeah.
realistic.
Well, we're discussing,
Application for us to review.
well, we have to discuss, maybe we'll talk about the violation.
Violation.
Where are we on that as far as, they have
Well-
to respond within a certain amount of days?
I mean, let's be realistic. This application that we had the public hearing on, this Doc Closey, or however you say that started out with a notice of violation, if I recall,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
So
that
that
was it.
started out with a notice of violation.
What was that,
And
November?
then Aram's been saying it's been getting adjourned and adjourned and adjourned because you're trying to get, we had the COVID thing we were dealing with in a more hardcore fashion than this, obviously. But, as I said, it's a start, okay? Everybody's got to come to the table with what has exactly happened here, or how's this getting remedied, all the other jurisdictions. It's got to be worked through this process, and to really put
Right.
a time on that, it's not, it's hard to do that right now.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
with all the agencies involved, it's not a simple,
It
question,
wouldn't be
but-
fair to really answer that question until you see exactly, what's going on here. So we, like I said, the first step is, hey, we've noticed that something has occurred here that is counter to our Blue Book regulations, and we need an answer to that. We need to see what's happened here and what is the remedy to this for all the agencies. So it has to begin here, and then it has to march through this process. So it's in reality, it's hard to answer that question in a timeline that's appropriate. I've sat on boards for 2 terms, and there were cases there that were there before I was there, and when I left, they were still there, okay?
That's
So,
what we're trying to avoid.
right, but we generally like to see things get resolved,
Yeah.
okay? Especially things that are this important,
this.
which is why,
Some
No,
litigation's
you're
been going
pushing,
on
we're
for 14
pushing.
years.
right.
Why don't you keep on pushing it, go pushing.
Keep pushing?
Yeah, I think the fact that you show up and you have people that show up, I think the more people that come to try and get their points across on an issue and stay engaged in finding whatever resolution it is, I think is a good thing, okay? So, I applaud you all for coming down. Anybody that comes down to respectfully get their concerns across, I think is very helpful.
I think once an application comes before this board to review, that's when everything starts to take place. What are our needs? What is the community's needs? What's the ecosystem's needs? And what does the homeowner's application look like? And somehow we have to mesh that all together. It's a process.
I understand.
Right.
I've been going through it, not 2 terms, but since March. Would it be an unreasonable ask? Like Ryan Murphy has put no violations on, and clearly there's been a lot of violations, and he has not issued any, so that.
On what? Something else on the property?
On removing the bulkhead.
But realistically, we really are only charged with what our jurisdiction
Yes,
is
our
here, is
jurisdiction.
all we
Okay,
can
that's-
do.
Yeah.
So, I get it, there's like all these problems going on, but we have to focus on what it is that, is in our jurisdiction, and then everything else is gonna have to follow pretty much suit. So, this is something that we originally permitted, 50 years ago,
66.
60-some years ago, whatever, there's an issue.
No,
we see-
54,
We
19.
see it, but we're now waiting on other people to come to the table so that we can go forward. So we're going to work as diligently as we generally do, but it's hard to really fairly and honestly say at this point in time, when a notice of violation just got issued, a timeline. It's hard to do that.
Well, we're going to have to talk with the DEC, find out what their parameters are for dredging, if there is going to be any. We have to talk to, where the dredge spoil would be placed, take probably core samples. It gets a little involved.
Yeah.
But Sean, how long do they have before they have to answer the violation order?
It's on there. They gave them
30 days. It scratched
30
it
days,
off.
okay.
Yeah, and then it could turn,
Okay.
right, then it could turn into a summons. If they don't, answer it appropriately, then it could turn into something else, and then it goes in a different direction.
So that's what we felt, that we'd issue that to get things rolling.
To one other point with the core samples and things like that, being that the 3-foot high, 70-foot wall was taken down, what core samples were done before they allowed all of this land to fall into our canal?
We
Yeah,
don't,
we-
we don't know.
I don't know.
Right,
That's what we want to find
So
out.
so would it be reasonable to request that if we meet here next month, that we should have some answers?
We don't know.
I don't know yet.
We're trying,
No,
we're trying.
we're going to do our due diligence here.
I see
Okay.
that.
Yeah, we're trying.
I really commend all of you and really respect how quickly once you guys got involved, the violation was put forth, and we're very grateful and hope continued support. And dredging is very necessary. It's going to close the canal. We
Yeah,
have,
but that's another whole process. It's,
You want to
Right,
keep
this-
it, you kind of keep it
let's
separated.
do one thing at a time here. That's.
well, that's we're not looking specifically to hurt the homeowner. We're not looking for that. We're looking to bring our canal back to whole.
Yeah.
We have to stabilize that land first.
It's continuing to.
Yeah, so once we stabilize that,
Yes.
then we can go and
That's
have it.
right.
Correct, yes.
Without stabilizing that, dredging is, you're going to.
It's useless, agreed.
Erosion, so.
I totally
so
understand.
There's got to be a plan,
Okay,
Yeah, because
a multi-level plan.
agreed. Okay, I appreciate it.
You've had discussions with the DEC?
We started out with Andrew Walker, and now
Okay.
we're with Carrie Gallagher. So
Okay.
she's now involved, and Bart DiMartino of Army Corps.
Right.
Okay.
And that's
good.
kind of where I started getting my education as to what could happen, what couldn't happen, and so,
Okay, good.
thank you.
Now they know who the analyst is. We're going to coordinate with
Yeah.
him.
The-
Well, no, well, we don't,
DEC.
Once
At
they-
some point, once
Carrie.
once this is
Oh.
resolved,
Right.
then we'll get together and come up with a holistic
Right.
plan of how to address the
Once there's an
situation.
application put forward, then we talk to the analyst.
And I'm always here.
we see, that's
Okay.
fine, that's
Okay.
fine.
No problem.
Have a nice day.
thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Thank you
Lisa,
all.
was there anybody else
Safe.
downstairs?
No, Mr. President, there is no one else waiting to speak.
Okay, well, let's
Okay, we
get into
continue.
the permits. The Board of Trustees hereby waive a public hearing on the following applications because it's been determined that the following projects do not raise a significant degree of public interest or public input. It is not needed to aid in the decision-making process. So the first one's Ann's handling.
Trustee Resolution 2020-150, it's the fourth renewal of 361 Dune Road LLC, permit WRC 00024, 361 Dune Road, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 900, 179 2-21.1. This is a renewal. I'd like to ask for its approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2020-151, application of Robert Cummings, 250 Jobs Lane, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-134-1-43.2, body of water Swan Creek. This is an application for Phragmites management. I'd like to recommend its approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Edison.
Trustee Resolution 2020-152, renewal, third time, and a modification of first time permit number JET 0002-1 North Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-207-4-22.1, 23, 24, and 25, body of water, Shinnecock Canal. We vetted this at work session. I recommend its approval.
Second.
Favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Resolution 2020-153, renewal, first one, and modification, first one of Peconic Crescent LLC, permit number GP 000093, 2 Peconic Crescent, Shinnecock Hills, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-191-04-11, body of water, Cold Springs Pond. We vetted this at work session. I recommend its approval. And
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, jumping on. Okay, Ann.
Trustee Resolution 2020-136, authorized contribution to Sag Harbor Water Quality Initiative. Southampton Town Trustees are the owners of underwater lands in Southampton Town portion of the village of Sag Harbor, whereas the health of these waters, including the products of the waters and other aquatic flora and fauna, is of the utmost importance to the trustees, residents, and baymen, whereas it is in the best interests of the residents of the town of Southampton to determine the presence of contaminants in the waters of Sag Harbor that could harm the health of both residents and marine life. Whereas Village of Sag Harbor has agreed to participate in the water quality monitoring program proposed by Dr. Gobler of Stony Brook University to the Sag Harbor Harbor Committee, whereas East Hampton Town Trustees, Southampton Town Board, and the Southampton Town Trustees have agreed to, and others, have agreed to contribute funds for this water quality project, whereas Southampton Town Trustees have pledged $2,000 towards this program, and whereas for the sole purpose of adhering to SUNY Research Foundation's funding requirements, the East Hampton Town Trustees have agreed to pool these funds of various entities that are contributing funds in escrow and pay Dr. Gobler with one check. Now therefore be it resolved that the Southampton Town Trustees authorize payment in the amount of $2,000 to the East Hampton Town Trustees, and further be it further resolved that the President is authorized to execute an agreement appointing the East Hampton Town Trustees as the escrow agent for the Southampton Town Trustees contribution for this project.
All right, I'll give you the second.
Okay.
That way it'll all work.
I'd like to recommend its approval.
Yeah.
I'll give you the second.
Second from Scott, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so carried. Okay, trustee resolution 2020-154, authorize the continuation of legal services by Sokoloff Stern LLP And whereas the Board of Trustees Resolution 2020-7 requires an authorizing resolution for any expenditure in excess of $1,000, and whereas the trustees continue to retain legal services by Sokolov Stern LLP in matters related to Havemeyer et al. Versus the Town of Southampton et al., now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Freeholders and Commonalty of the Town of Southampton hereby authorizes the continuation of legal services by Sokolov Stern LLP. The source of the funding shall be the Board of Trustees legal fees GL account in an amount not to exceed the budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2020-155, warrant number 13 of 2020 for the trustees. Lisa, do you want me to read this, or do you want to read it?
No, I can read it.
If you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely. Law offices of Con and Con, $12,857.09 for legal fees. Creative Safety Supply, $513.14. Stickers and ink for trustee permits. East Coast Mines and Materials, $81.60. Crushed gravel. Safe Harbor Publications, $118.01 for legal and newspaper notices. Fisher Signs and Shirts, LLC, $1,128, no swimming and slow wake signs. Granger, $259 for maintenance supplies. Home Depot Credit Services, $299, AC unit for the Marine Maintenance Building. Wolpers Equipment Corp., $78.94 for maintenance supplies. New York State Industries for the Disabled, $2,641.30 for a large format scanning and grant project. We will be reimbursed for that money through the New York State Archiving Grant.
Right.
Remsenburg Marina, $1,416, repair equipment for dock barge. Republic Crane and Hoist Corp., $1,300 for chain for buoys. Riverhead Building Supplies, $162.63 for maintenance supplies. Sokolov Stern LLP, $2,394.75 for legal fees. Spellman's Marina, $254.36 for maintenance supplies. Staples, $41.40 for office supplies. Suffolk Environmental Consulting, $262.50 for the Baycrest Consulting Project. Town of Southampton, $5,285.38 reimbursement for buoy purchase. WB Mason, $65.20 for office supplies. And we had 2 manual checks issued this warrant for BNB Bank, $482.73 for the trustee's P card, and for Verizon in the amount of $296.59 for monthly cell phone charges, and for a total of $29,158.30.
I have a question on the trustee P card. What was that for?
Whenever marine maintenance goes to,
There's marine maintenance
marine
supplies.
maintenance uses it for whenever they need a part or something, they can
Like the
charge up
local
to,
hardware store and stuff like
yeah, they
that.
can charge up to $500 is their limit.
Right.
Fine with that.
I'd like to recommend the approval of warrant number 13.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so please, that concludes the regular meeting, but please be advised that a special work session meeting of the Board of Trustees will be held in town.
Excuse me, Eric,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You have a
Oh, you had a
walk-on
walk-on, right.
resolution?
Right, okay, the box thing, right, sorry.
Did you want me to give a brief explanation?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I get you to stop just for a minute so I can change to the work session when you're done.
Okay,
Yeah, we have-
okay,
Still an
very
open-
good. Right. No, he wanted to know when we close,
Right.
give him a minute or two to go.
Switch over.
Switch over.
Okay, so,
Okay.
are we on or not?
Yes,
Do you want
go
me-
ahead.
Do you want me to speak?
Go ahead,
Okay.
yes.
So the town board on July 14th adopted a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a agreement with Box Inc. How this affects us is that they included the trustee's office for one license for $250, and this resolution will reimburse the town for that license of $250. That's an annual fee, and sometimes we have voluminous fax, FOIL requests that require very large format transmission of documents, and we have to often rely on IT or split these documents into 4 and 5 and 6 separate emails. So
Right.
this will eliminate that and make the FOIL process a lot more
I
efficient.
have a question
Okay.
on that, if I may.
Yes,
Does the town have a license too?
yes, the
Yeah,
town
we're
has
part of
10
it.
licenses, and they included the trustees as one, and we're
Okay.
reimbursing the town for
Okay,
that
so
license.
each department has their own license?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
But okay, so they're shifting it off to us.
No, they included us in the resolution, and we're just reimbursing them
No, I
for
get they're shifting the
$250.
cost off to our,
Yeah.
interesting, okay.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we walk a resolution on regarding this
Second.
purchase. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we have the resolution to approve payment for this particular item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so make a motion that we,
I have a couple
oh,
things.
you want to, okay.
Did Charles ask us to stop?
No, we're going to discuss, as part of our regular meeting, we have some, if the trustees have anything to bring up.
We had a oyster farmer, a local oyster farmer is going to donate a couple of totes of oysters to be put out either this week or next week in a couple of areas. I'll let you know exactly the amount when he does it and where they're going to go. The maintenance is going to do it.
That's nice, thank you.
Great.
And someone has been stealing the plants at the bioswale at
Agawam.
Agawam. So a police report will be made up by the landscaper tomorrow, what was stolen out of there.
A substantial amount, or?
He thinks like 5 to 10 plants so far,
Really?
by biscuits,
No, because they're in bloom.
yeah.
Right.
So they just,
They're not
people
going to
just pull them
transplant
out.
very well.
No, they're gonna die
No.
right away.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
That's a shame,
Anybody
but
can do that.
I know this happened, so.
Yeah.
Bill and I went down to discuss at Cow Neck, so we'll bring that up in executive session. So we had discussions with down there. You have anything, Scott?
Well, I think we're all going to sign the letter that Sean made up for us today. That way we can facilitate
For the
some
whale.
Oh, the whale thing.
transparency for the folks that are doing in the crop season, doing the whale strandings and sea turtle strandings and stuff to try and show that those vehicles are parked and aiding trustees and everybody relative to that. So I guess we'll have that to sign today.
That's already prepared.
Already prepared. Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
And Scott and I went down last week, I believe it was, to Baycrest Avenue Dock to check on the progress of that, and meet with the bulkheader, and come up with a list of, sort of like a punch list to do complete the project. Hopefully now he can move ahead now. He's been held up because of this COVID.
He's been there working. Yeah, and there were things that we weren't finalized on, and the board has to get finalized on, and Eric and I went and met with them, and then the options are here. I think Eric made copies for everybody.
Good.
It's coming out really nice project. It's been a long time coming. Right?
And also want to congratulate Ed Warner on being a grandfather, first time
Grandpa
grandfather.
Ed.
Thank you, Bill.
Congratulations.
Yep.
You should, what's the name?
Lila Monet, Theodora.
So another thing is too, that we've had some
Bless you.
people that were concerned about the condition of the Eastport Pier, and we talked to a couple of the people down there in Eastport last week, and assured them that our maintenance crew is going to be working on that very soon. It's been
Demolition
held
of the-
up, they weren't allowed to work in 2 and 3 to a team, and we're just a little bit behind on certain things. The general things that we work on through the years have taken quite a lot longer to do. So we've been cleaning up floating, derelict duck blinds in front of people's houses, clogging up mosquito ditches and things like that. Also, the oyster project seems to be doing well over in Flanders. Oysters are growing, so we'll get a report on that, what size they're getting to be in Pine Avenue Canal.
Yeah. Looks good. I was over there last week.
Yeah,
It's a good project.
see how they grow, and maybe we can get something started.
Yes.
Anything else?
The rush tide started to show up in Shinnecock Bay this past week.
Yeah.
Hopefully, with the storm that we're going to get next couple of days, will purge out the bay like it did last summer, and it'll be a short-lived algae outbreak, because it does decimate the scallop population. So,
And I hear we have some data coming in from Mecox. Is that buoy or something, where they have a fixed?
What's our status there at Leacock with the storm coming?
Mecox is closed. It's washing over because it's been full moon high tides, but it is closed. SAG, to finish addressing Mecox, there's a stationary salinity and height level gauge that is operating. The floating buoy, we're waiting for Tom Wilson from SOMAS. That should be installed probably within the next week or so. That will record dissolved oxygen, chlorophyll, harmful algal blooms. There are a couple other parameters on that, but it has not yet been installed. The marine maintenance Garvey will be used to install that when it comes. He's because of COVID, there was a bit of a delay. He is test driving it right now in Port Jeff Harbor, and then it will come out here next week.
And that's real time, right? I mean, you can
Yes,
access it.
that will be available on longislandshore.org/Mecox with all the parameters, and that'll be live stream, and that's accessible to all of the public.
And what about the one that we have now? Are we getting data from that? Or you have to go down and take a look at it, or is that being streamed too?
It's going to be streamed, but they still have some tweaks, so right now we have to request it
Okay.
if we want that info.
But it is available upon request. He
Right.
can get it for us.
Oh, okay.
what is the salinity in Mecox?
I went down last Thursday, and it was, the highest was 12, around 12.
Do we notify the DEC that it naturally closed?
Yes.
And they acknowledge that it was
Yep.
closed? That's important.
SAG, due to it needs to be opened, we have the permit, which is good through the month of August to open it. We originally were looking at this week to open it, and then with the tropical storm, we elected to open it next week. So we still have to watch and see what happens, but we're anticipating probably beginning to middle of the week for next week for SAG.
Great.
One other thing, some of you have, or I think everyone has gotten an email regarding the sandbar at Circle Beach.
Right.
Circle Beach in Pine Neck. I've been to the site several times now at several different tide cycles. It is full moon high tide at this point. If you drive down to the end of Pine Neck Avenue where Circle Beach is and look off to the east, there is a sandbar that's been there probably 50 years, from what I understand, speaking to local residents. The last time Mill Creek was dredged was in 2016, I understand, from, again, speaking to the local residents. Each time Mill Creek is dredged, that sandbar, because prevailing southwest winds, there's a sort of a point there that's just to the east of the channel, has exacerbated that sandbar, and the residents along Hampton Street are concerned about the quality of the water right in front of their homes due to the lack of tidal exchange, because the sandbar is compromising some of the exchange. Some testing was done by the DEC, and they noted that that there are the growing sandbar is not allowing the water to flush along the beach. The DEC noted that the algae present is Cochloclidium, so hard to pronounce, which is what causes the red tide. It is present in low amounts at this point, 50 cells per microliter. It states that it's not harmful and that it dies with UV exposure. It does not die with UV exposure, but it is harmful to fish and shellfish. When I spoke with residents in this community, I said that I would bring this situation to the board and see what the suggestions were. Another thing that was presented was that there are no markings on that sandbar, so that frequently when rental sailboats come out of Mill Creek, they do run aground. So I said that I would bring these, basically the residents in that community are saying what can be done.
There is channel markers that come out of that channel from Mill Creek out, so they should, my recommendation would that they should take a boating course and learn how to navigate the channel. Because
Road right return.
it's a very deep, wide channel, and I believe the last time we pumped the sand, it went to the west in front of the beach colony there, so that sand that they're talking about that has come, it doesn't skip across the channel and appear on that sandbar. It's impossible.
So
And that sandbar has been there. I was clamming there in 1976, so that's when I got my license to go, driver's license. So that sandbar has been there in one form or another for that many years.
evidently it's higher though now. There was a picture that was sent to me that I can share with the others, or with the rest of you, of a Jeep driving on that in the winter.
It does go
There-
completely dry in the wintertime.
It seems to
about-
be
there's about
trapping,
600
though. I
feet
mean,
of
has it
dry
trapped it
beach in the
normally?
winter. What's that?
Has it trapped it normally?
This is the first year that they've ever had this trouble. When I walked along at low tide, there are massive amounts of seaweed, brown seaweed, and the residents are complaining about the smell at low tide, and they're concerned about the amount of oxygen in the water right there.
Yeah, but as soon as the tide rises and there's 3 feet of water there, it's normal. I mean,
Washes out.
there is a beach, there's a swale, and then there's a sandbar offshore. And if you go west of Mill Creek towards Noyak Creek, it's the same configuration. By Clam Island, there's a beach, a swale, and then there's another sandbar that goes dry at low tide. And that's the way Noyak Bay is. It's the way it's been there for 40 years that I can remember.
Was there something different, though, this year, why people are complaining, or is it?
Maybe the seaweed at low tide, it's
Decaying.
You'd have
It's decaying, but that's a
more,
natural process.
More eelgrass in the bay?
Maybe
There's
more-
That's starting to be-
there's no
What-
eelgrass.
More grass.
What are they suggesting we do?
Is this trustee jurisdiction, or?
No, it's state waters.
It's
and-
state waters.
and the
Yeah, so
states-
that it's not our, there's nothing, we can just make a recommendation. I mean, it's,
I mean, there's
They
all-
were saying what can be done.
I mean, there's.
They
it's-
were asking.
The DEC could bring their dredge in.
No, they're not gonna dredge open bay like that.
Just kidding.
And there's all hard clams and steamers and oysters there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a natural, clam bed.
it's, if it's not our bottom,
So,
Right.
I don't think there's any health risks as far as water quality, because just the tidal cycle there would completely flush that out. And with the prevailing southwesterly winds, you get a good circulation in Noyak Bay. So one tidal cycle would completely flush out, that water that was sat there at low
Might
tide.
be a moot point after this week.
Yeah.
And then it might
The only
correct
thing,
itself.
the only thing that I could think of, normally there's a lot of rocks and a lot of quarter decks there. Maybe this year there isn't so many rocks and there's a little more sand, so it's more visible. It's, to the naked eye.
There's a fair amount of rock, and there's some rock sort of jetties.
Yeah, but that's
Little
right on the
ones.
beach, yeah.
Yes.
But where they're
Yes.
complaining.
Out on the
yeah,
sandbar?
It's like
There's a-
500 feet, 400 feet off the beach.
There's a fair amount of rock there.
Yeah, that's the way it's been for my whole entire lifetime. I mean, you could talk to some of the other baymen down there, and they'll say the same thing. You could talk to John Semler and some of the other baymen that, have lived there their whole lives.
Have they complained to the state?
Yes.
Okay.
What'd the state say, anything?
DEC said that it wasn't their jurisdiction.
I mean, there are sandbars that form and dissipate all over the bays all the time. So, I mean, maybe this is just a cycle that's going through, there's a little bit more sand there.
Yeah.
But as far as the dredge material that we put on the beach, I don't foresee that getting that far off the beach.
Okay. What about, I saw that the channel is very deep and well marked, but it's straight out, but evidently some people cut that corner. What about marking that sandbar? Is that something that the Bay Constables can do, even with just,
Well, it's kind of difficult down there because you got markers for swimming areas along Long Beach.
You don't
No,
want to
this-
confuse,
And then you have.
you don't want to confuse the guys coming in and out.
And then you have moorings that go all the way from Long Beach to Mill Creek. So I don't know what kind of marker you're gonna put there for a sandbar. I mean, there are markers you put for rocks, obstructing hazards like that, but I don't think marking something that close to the beach is a safe thing to do with it, because boats could run into it, and, it's not something that would be in our jurisdiction either, because it's not our.
It's on our bottom?
It's not our bottom.
You're not marking the channel. If it was the
You're not
channel.
marking the channel, then you're gonna confuse people with,
And it's not on a chart. Now you're putting something
Yeah.
that's not on a chart.
yeah, to put a marker out there, you'd actually need a
So,
Army Corps permit.
who should these residents be speaking to, if not the trustees?
I would say
If
New
it's
York State DEC.
Yeah, EDC.
It's their underwater lands.
But not Andrew Walker.
Oh, I don't know whether he's involved in that aspect.
Maybe Wade Carden, because
Okay.
he does the pound traps and oyster stuff. I mean, you can have a conversation with him, he could probably steer you in a direction.
Direct you to somebody.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't see anybody there that would actually take this on, because it's just something, sandbars come, sandbars go. Next year, it might not even be a problem.
Okay. I will report back to the residents.
Okay.
What else do we have?
That's it. So,
We need a motion to close.
motion to close the regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, we're going to open up a special work session of the Board of Trustees. Please be advised that a special work session meeting of the Board of Trustees will be held in the town boardroom, second floor, Southampton Town Hall, 116 Hampton Road, Southampton, on Monday, August 3rd, 2020, at 2
Oh,
p.m.
sorry, that's my
At
fault.
2
I'm
See, I'm
sorry.
reading everything you write
I'm
down.
very sorry, that is my typo, I take full responsibility.
What's this, the mortgage to my house, too? I'm going to re-sign that, too? Okay.
I'm
For the
sorry.
purpose of considering the following discussion of various general permit applications. Okay, first on the agenda.
Jeffrey Rosenberg, 62 John Street, Village of Sag Harbor. This is a modification to an
Lisa,
existing
you don't have
permit.
another agenda, do you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, it's on the back. These two little ones.
The property owner wished to include handrails along the catwalk for purposes of safety for his family. James, can you show the side view? This, would you like to talk about it?
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay. Matt Ivan, Suffolk Environmental. Last time we were here for this, you wanted me to submit some specifications for the safety railings, which I did, which you may have before you. It's standard. You got a cap, you got a middle side rail. And that is really about it.
Okay.
James, is this going on the TV, the regular, to the public, too?
Yeah,
Is he putting it on?
should be able to
Okay,
control that. I don't know why it keeps going out on me.
very good. Okay.
But yeah, that's
Can you
Charles
flip-
will
Can
do
you
that.
flip that picture?
No, I don't think I.
You don't know how to do that? Me neither.
Well, you don't have this, Ian has a,
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, there seems to be a problem with the TVs.
I have a couple copies.
Here, let me.
Thanks. Thanks for bringing it up to me.
Do you want,
No,
do you want to see?
Yeah, let me take a look.
James, what are you doing, man? I wanted to move it so they can see it. That one's not working.
I'm
not tall enough. I got, you guys got copies here.
You have copies?
Well, I have this one.
That's the one I just passed around.
Okay.
So what is this application
I'd rather
for?
go for 2x4s.
Safety rail.
That's kind of excessive.
Big stuff.
Okay.
You want to go 2x4s instead of 1x8s?
Yeah,
Wait a minute, hold on.
Cut it down half.
yeah, or less than half. Yeah, less than half. 1x8,
It's
That's pretty big.
for the safety of his family.
I mean, it's gonna be like,
Let's only see it now.
It is wide.
Mentioning something else in there.
Oops, I'm sorry, it's wide.
No problem.
Who proposed the 8-inch?
I mean,
I don't know, we probably did. I mean,
That's a little much.
if you guys want to do 1x4, I don't think they really care.
Go 1x4.
1 by 4.
yeah, that's what we.
1x4.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, 8 is
Yeah, it's too much.
Lot two of them, they're not gonna paint them white, are they?
they can't paint them.
No. No,
Because
it's
that's
not
what
gonna be all
most
natural.
people, most
Huh?
people put them on there, they paint them white and you can see them across the bay.
Oh, no.
Be no
I
paint on
highly
it.
doubt that.
Both 1 by 4.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
What about the timber railing cap? That's 1x8.
Do you really need?
Do you guys care?
It's pretty wide. I mean, that's a wide cap. I mean,
Good for the seagulls to sit on.
This row.
What's your piles?
Brings up-
that I really don't.
4x4s, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have it on here.
What's it on the original?
You could go with 1x6.
Yeah, 1 by
I
6.
mean, 8 seems too wide anyway.
6-inch.
Yeah,
So-
1x6.
Yeah, 1x6, that would cover it.
That makes more sense.
All right. So we'll do the top caps will be 1x6 and the side rails will be 1x4.
And the piles are what?
Those are 6-inch round, I think?
Yes.
6x6.
6x6.
The ones on the floating dock are 8x8s.
It's not going to work because it's 1 by 6 is 5.5 inches and you have a 6-inch pile, so if you
Yeah, but
want.
they're not full
Yeah,
6
but then
inches,
it'll
they're
be-
like 5.5.
It
by
should work.
5.5.
Because you got a 1x4, so they're going to be 3/4 inch wide. I mean, it'll be,
You're going to have the 1 by 4 as the rail,
Yeah.
the stiffener for the rail, right? And then you're going to overhang that, so
Yeah.
you're going to need an 8. Don't
You
cover
always
everything
slice
else?
the top of the pile on a slant, so it
I
catches.
mean,
we'll do I mean, we could do 1x8. It's up to you guys. This guy,
6 is fine.
will work.
You can,
okay.
you can notch it.
He'll make it work.
It's not cabinet.
Sorry, what you said
Do
wasn't
you want me
making
to
for
pass
you.
this down to the board?
So Ann, I'll redraw, I mean, I'll
You threw it out.
update this.
Back.
Do you need a
Okay.
new cover sheet or no? I think I did. I'll give you a new cover
Yes,
sheet.
because the specs will be different.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we're advancing pending receipt of the new cover sheet?
Yeah, I'll get that to you tomorrow.
Thanks.
Okay,
All righty.
great,
Thanks,
All right,
Matt.
good. Take care. Thanks.
okay.
So I have an application here. Karen Davidson, 4-seater drive, Hampton Bays. The original application was for a 4x80 fixed dock with roof flow decking, 3x14 ramp to a 6x20 float in a T configuration. That would only get them to 1.5 feet of water. I had a conversation with the consultant and also Glenn Just and Ms. Davidson in recommending that to go to 135 feet, which is the pier line, and make it a T-dock. So they're now asking for a 4x119 fixed dock to a 3x14 ramp to a 6x20 float, chalked. The inshore part is 2.3, the offshore is 2.5, and just offshore that it goes right to 3-4 feet of water, so it would be consistent with what we have approved in this area before, two properties down, and it works very good.
Okay. Yeah, we did set a pier line there.
Yep.
Okay,
So,
so it conforms to the blue book.
yeah, and the boat, if you come in with a T-dock and you go off, you go right to 4 feet of water, so it's good.
Okay, so you want to advance this?
I like to advance it.
Okay.
Does
Okay.
anyone else want to see? James, did you?
here, but that one's.
Does anyone else want to see?
Oh, okay. We have some problems with the TVs. We'll get there. They're on vacation, too. Haven't been used for a while, so they're causing trouble. Okay? So,
Christine's here. I don't know.
right.
Do you want to address the board, or?
No, I think she's standing in for Sean.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
Thank you for that. Thank you.
okay. All right. Okay.
Motion to adjourn,
I'll
go
get a
into
motion
executive?
to
One
adjourn.
moment,
Oh.
one
Oh,
moment.
sorry.
Oh,
For the record, effective immediately, for the good of this board, I'm stepping aside from the position of Secretary Treasurer and would like to nominate Scott Horowitz, former Secretary Treasurer, for this position.
okay.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And thank you for your service, Ann.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
So, okay, so
Motion
motion to
to adjourn the work
meeting
session
and go into executive session.
for the
to
purposes of,
confidential legal advice.
you need a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Closed.